first thing first hits on the identity piece. You got to gauge where they're at in their ADHD journey. Without acceptance and internalization of that diagnosis, they're not going to move forward. And that's where I often refer out to therapy. So I often do the psychoeducation, understand the ADHD, and then self-discovery. What does it look like for you? If they can't move past the psych ed part and like they just can't get the buy-in for the diagnosis, there's likely deeper things going on that I can't address as a coach, but that are really well addressed in therapy. We got to help them let go of the shame. And part of that shame, maybe from childhood experiences. What kind of parenting did they receive? What kind of messages did they receive? And how do we dismantle some of those messages so that they can, live healthier and happier lives? And so this is, obviously like such a great and fruitful area for therapy, and just helping them understand what's preventing them from the buy-in to their own diagnosis. Kind of less meta, less deep. If we look just at the kind of cognitive system itself, with ADHD, the working memory tends to be smaller, the working memory capacity. And so, generally speaking, working memory is just what allows us to hold information in mind and work with it, manipulate it, and then maybe execute a behavior or decision. With people with ADHD, that capacity is a little bit smaller. And we can divide working memory into two different types. There's verbal working memory, which is like the voice in your head, that inner monologue. A lot of people with ADHD talk about it being very chatty, lots of conversations up there. And then there's also nonverbal working memory, which I like to think of as, the mind's eye. That's often how we describe it. So your ability to hold, conjure images and hold images in mind. So both of these are, types of working memory. With ADHD, these faculties, their capacity is smaller. And so we want to keep that in mind when we're working with our clients. And so the goal is to try to externalize their working memory as much as possible. If they ever say, yes, I'll remember that, they're lying. They know that they're not going to remember that. That has to do with the working memory. I'm guilty of this myself. I'm like, I'm going to remember that. And as soon as I hear that, I'm like, you're lying, go write it down. So in therapy or in coaching, the goal is to create structured verbal processing. And I know that you guys already do aspects of this in your work, but with ADHD, there's almost like this like a higher intensity version of this, where we want them to do the divergent thinking that they're going to do. So again, generating lots of ideas. I'm sure you get a lot of what we call brain dumps. And the goal of that, the brain dump, is to download the ideas that are in their head, or the observations, the facts, whatever is swirling up there, to download it so it frees up that working memory space. And so as the provider, we are the external hard drive for that. So they throw the ideas, throw the information back at us, and our job is to hold that for them. And then that frees up that working memory space. We relay the ideas back to our client using some of their words and paraphrased aspects of it, kind of cutting straight to the point, because that's sometimes where they struggle. And in doing so, when you give it back to them, their working memory is kind of free of the original piece. They can take the kind of downloaded, more succinct version that you gave them, put it in their head, and then manipulate those ideas or that information to reach new conclusions, new insights, and new strategies. So this verbal processing is really just a downloading mechanism. Download that information, hold it for them so that they can tweak it, and then help them kind of move to that next thing. This same strategy can be used visually, externalizing the imagery process. You're going to see some people with ADHD are very visual. They're good at holding images, and others may struggle with it more. You want to gauge for something called aphantasia, which is essentially an inability to conjure and hold images in your head. So when you close your eyes, you see nothing. And your description of it's more of a description than it is like a visual image. So whether this person is struggling with the working memory or they have aphantasia, up for discovery and exploration. But regardless, there's still likely a challenge with holding images. So can you externalize the imagery process? So if they like to draw, have them draw like a safe place, or label components of a safe space, have them find images, like that might be a really good activity in between sessions of like, I want, if you're open to it, right? I want you to find an image that really captures like a place of peace for you, or provide some of your own images for them of like, these are some things that other people have said they find comfort in, or even if you feel comfortable and are okay with being vulnerable, even saying this is what my safe image place is. This is what's in my safe place. Again, the idea is to provide an externalization of that working memory, so that they can work with that information and get to where we want them to be going. So one thing is what we call organized chaos, because it hits on one of the points about um, how explicit to be in the structure in a session. If something's overly structured, they're going to rebel from it. And if it's underly structured, they're going to feel overwhelmed. So there's a great need for autonomy and freedom, but they sometimes can get overwhelmed by their own intensities. In sessions, can we create a balance between autonomy and their working memory? Because that's essentially what we're talking about here. So, can we provide some guardrails for the divergent thinking? Which is why I have the image of the trampoline, because we want them to bounce around and bounce with their ideas. And if they fall off, we've set those guardrails, that net, so that they can climb back out. And so, what that actually looks like is similar to the verbal processing. Track the conversation and relay the journey back to them, and then ask them, is this the road that you want to keep traveling on? This is where we started. This is what you came in saying you wanted to talk about. This is where we started, and this is where we are now. When you hear me say that to you, like, what do you think? And is this still the space you want to be exploring? So it creates, again, that structure. Not only does it orient us, it also orients them and makes sure that they are going the way that they want to go. So again, cultivating the autonomy, but putting those guardrails around it, which then it just is linked to this idea of it's okay to be explicit. Um, Being directive, giving examples can be really, really helpful for people with ADHD. Again, building off the working memory idea, because it can be hard to come up with their own, because it's a lot to hold in mind and then tweak it. So when you provide an example for them, like if they ask you, like, well, what would you do? Or how would you do it? They're not asking you necessarily to tell them to do it your way. It's really looking for an example that they could then tweak and make it their own. A lot of times, like if you tell them what to do, they don't even do it anyway. They end up doing what they're going to do anyway. But it provides an opportunity to see how it might be done and how they might do it differently. And two reasons for this, I've already hit on the working memory one, but it also circles back to attachment theory. I have a colleague, Claire Weeman, and she kind of conceptualizes this strategy as 50% certitude and 50% curiosity. So you go in with a degree of confidence, right, to make that individual feel secure. You're not going in arrogantly like you know it all, but you're going in with a confidence of we're going to figure this out together. And you have the curiosity in terms of exploring things with them. So it creates that secure attachment of this is a safe place to explore and go move about and figure out how to troubleshoot. And then if you look at it at the level of the brain as well, the safety and security is going to reduce stress and therefore activation of the amygdala. And when that happens, right, when it's activated, we lose access to the PFC. And we know with ADHD, we already have a hard time with the PFC. So it helps reduce that stress on it and gives them a better shot at using their working memory more efficiently, really as efficiently as they could, and come up with that solution with you. So the benefit of the certitude is not telling the client what to do, but you see cognitive kind of downloading, right? And then safety and security to then continue to explore the download.
Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed the content and want more, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. That way, you'll never miss out on the latest updates from Neural Revolution. I greatly value your input, whether you're an individual with ADHD seeking information or guidance on a specific topic, or if you're a practitioner looking for clinical insights to better support your ADHD clients. Please share your suggestions in the comments below. Until next time, take care and get your dopamine on.